I tell you what, I timed this well, didn't I? Best it I done, actually. Getting a bit hot in here, but it's not hot outside, is it? Stormy, windy, freezing, so you can get your snoods, get your hats on the magpiechannel.com. I've just been out and about again, dropping a few off in person, so good to meet yous in real life. They actually do exist. And like I say, they're flying out, so you can get them yourself if you fancy on the magpiechannel.com. We'll get that out of the way. I think I'll have to take this off now. I'll be back in a minute. Whew, they do keep you that toasty, mind. The snoods keep you very toasty, and so do the hats, but the hair's a mess, so we'll continue with the old bobbly hat on. We're going to talk about FFP changes today, PSR changes in particular. There's new rules in force, and it looks like Newcastle United are going to actually agree to them. So we're going to look into some research and some evidence into why that may be. And actually, there's been loads of transfer news in the past couple of days building towards what may be a busy January for the Mags. So before we get into the juicy stuff, though, Dutch WONDERKID that the Toon are trying to sign, let's have a quick word from our sponsors. This show is brought to you by William Hill's Final One Stand and football's free Ultimate Eliminator game. Now, I've got knocked out a couple of weeks ago in the previous competitions. Some of you might still be in it if you are fair play, but there's another chance to win some money, and that is by beating Robbie from AFTV. Now, I'm taking this one personal, Robbie, because he celebrated in my face at St James's Park for that Arsenal game when they won it in the last minute. So I'm going to try and beat him now and win a share of £50,000. If you fancy doing that, you can scan the QR code on your screen or hit the link in the description. And remember, the same rules apply. So you pick a Premier League team, and once you've used them, you can't use them again. Remember, it's 18 plus. It is only in the UK and Ireland. Please gamble responsibly, and all key information, terms and conditions are in the link below. Right then, people, we'll get into the Dutch WONDERKID stuff. A couple of rumours of incomings and outgoings already being lined up for the winter window. But first of all, let's have a look at an article from the iPaper here on why Newcastle will vote for the controversial new spending rules. Now, because next week sees one of the most important Premier League meetings for years, as clubs are asked to vote on the most radical overhaul of spending rules for a decade. PSR are on their last legs. What comes next is still a bit unclear, though. Clubs are being split, and legal action is potential from the PFA, with the meeting scheduled on the 21st of November. It's going to be an explosive one, is what a lot of people are saying when you look into it here. So the new systems that are being proposed that clubs will be asked to vote on, there's three of them. It's the first of all is the squad cost rules, SCR. So we're still knocking about these acronyms, the abbreviations, the PSR out, SCR in, apparently, which limits clubs to spending 85% of their revenues on wages, amortised transfer fees and other costs associated with player recruitment and retention. The move to the system makes a lot of sense because it's very similar to the UEFA one, which obviously English clubs in Europe has to already comply with. Newcastle have one of 9 who tick that box this year after they have a set 70% limit on what you can spend. The Premier League are offering more wiggle room so that aspiring clubs who have less revenue and therefore less spending power can get into those European competitions. However, here comes the stinky part. We've got the expert himself, Kieran Maguire, telling the iPaper here that there is no benefit for Newcastle and Aston Villa. Basically, if you're not already there, if you're not at the top, you're not one of the top 4 clubs, then you're absolutely knackered. If your revenue stream's not worldwide like Manchester United's and Arsenal's and Man City and Chelsea's now, then you are screwed. There is no way you can catch up, basically. We just get shafted. Keep the little boys down there, will we? Yeah? Don't want anyone breaking into this top 6, do we? Why, no. So Kieran Maguire saying here that the general feeling is that SCR will pass fairly comfortably and it won't be a game changer. He calls it, in his quotation marks, a rearranging of the deck chairs on the Titanic, replacing PSR with SCR. Great, just what I wanted here, isn't it? Another disaster. So, a PSR, SCR, whatever it is, doesn't make a difference to us, basically. Sorry, everyone. Been Kieran Maguire here, and fair play, he's always honest. That's why I really like him. He says here, it's only going to help an existing elite club. There's no benefit for like Villa and Newcastle in moving the system. The second strand is the controversial one, top to bottom anchoring. It proposes a limit on how much even the richest clubs in the league can spend, restricting them to an outlay of 5 times the amount the bottom club in the league earns through broadcast revenue and prize money. Proponents say it's necessary to maintain the competitive balance of the league as the clubs who bank huge prize money from the likes of the Champions League kind of steer away. Critics say anchoring will restrict the ability of the Premier League's biggest clubs to compete with the European rivals like Real Madrid and Paris Saint-Germain. PFA have threatened legal action of fears it might depress wages. Yeah, so that's a contentious one that's probably not going to get passed because the big boys won't allow it. And we all know who's powerful in this rank here and who really has final say. The likes of Man U, Liverpool and City are going to oppose this because they wouldn't want to agree a set of rules, which means they could be generating revenue and they can't spend it. And that's how they continue to get away. People always ask, well, how have Man U just spent another 250 million, 300 million? Well, because they've just spent God knows how much on shirt sales in Asia, and they're doing this little tour here and all the way around it, you know what I mean? Because they've got that global fan base there from the success of the 90s and beyond. Not much information here on the third strand, of which fewer details are in the public domain, which it does, however, relate to sustainability and is tied to the new independent regulator. So they're keeping that very hush-hush at the moment, but I'm sure we'll do more on this next week when it does come out from that meeting on the 21st of November. But the iPaper here are stating that Newcastle are in favour of both SCR and TBA. If you turn down some of the noise around the debate, it actually injects a bit of rationality into the market. These are saying with Newcastle almost certainly not to breach the limit being talked about anytime soon either, because we still haven't been able to really increase our revenue that much. That's why Silver still might be out though. David Hopkinson comes in. Can we get training ground sponsors, training kit sponsors, stadium sponsors? Let's do it. Let's move forward. But as Maguire says, the rules are there to prevent teams like Newcastle and Villa from competing with the existing rich. And it's so true and it's so effing unfair, isn't it? That you can't make up on ground on those clubs that are already there, because then it's not a very competitive league, then is it really? Or not sustainably. You may get the odd team like us who break in, or Villa top 5, but then sure enough, Spurs or whoever will come back because they've just got the money to keep on spending, whereas we will have to be selling best players. And then it's whether or not you replace them and so on and so forth if you can try and maintain it. And as we've seen so far this season, not looking too good. These mention here how we can benefit from a few things like a new stadium with more potential for corporate income and match-going fans, but that's a long-term project. A lot of fans won't want to hear this, but the only way around it is to sell your star players, like we did with Isaac this summer, banking 130 million and trying to reinvest that and navigate financial fair play rules that way. So right, plenty of waffle there, plenty to get your teeth stuck into. Let us know what you think of the new rules and how it will impact Newcastle, if at all, or what we should be doing to try and get around, whether it's PSR, RCA, fucking RAC, cars broke down, pick them up, TBA, to be announced. Let us know. Then swiftly onto some transfer news, and this one was from Sky. It was from Anthony Joseph at first, and then Keith has reposted some information on AZ Alkmaar star, the midfielder Keys Smith, and they'll be looking for a record transfer fee in excess of 22 million to sign the Dutch WONDERKID. We are interested, we are fighting for the signature of the 19-year-old, but we do face stiff competition from European giants Barcelona, Real Madrid, which he's been pictured wearing one of their kits, so that's good, and Bayern Munich, as well as some English clubs like Tottenham Hotspur, all wanting the midfielder to sign for them. Sky Sports News understands Smith is keen to test himself at the highest level. AZ open to sell him, but only for that record fee. Their current record sale is just under 22 million, 21.8 for Reinders, when he went to AC Milan, who's now at City. Smith is admired at NUFC and is seen as a player with a very high ceiling. He really impressed at the Youth Euros last year, and he's breaking his way into the national side now, or at least trying to, and impressing there in the Eredivisie. So that little ginger midfielder, the young callback, hopefully not, is one to look out for. I mean, listen, I'd be lying if I said I've ever seen him play, but after seeing that post and reading into him, he sounds like an absolute star in the making. And obviously, with the likes of Madrid and Barca chasing you, you must have something about you. But when you look at those teams, would he get into their team yet? No. So will he maybe go there and he could go on loan? Yes. But if he came to Newcastle, he could probably slot in fairly quickly, to be honest with you, especially if we end up getting rid of one of the senior players, or, you know, if Joe Linton gets replaced, like a lot of people have said this season, then it could be one for Newcastle to look into. These are the type of players, really, when we've just done all that waffle on your PSR and your RCA and all that crap, you need to be sending players like this for 22 million, have them for a few years, and then sell them to Real Madrid for 100 million. Barcelona, 100 million. That's what you need to be doing, flipping players like that. I know it's annoying, you get attached, Isaac, all the rest of it, seen there, been there, done that, but it's our only really hope now to be getting players, bring them in low, sell them high, like what Brighton do, and then keep doing that, really. Try and keep most of them, but sell the odd one, sell that diamond, you know, and get a good few years out of them, because 22 million, bloody bargain. So, yeah, I would love to see us sign Smith. Be really excited to see how we work with them, and it's one to watch for that WONDERKID. I'm sure will probably miss out. You'll go into someone else, probably go into Spurs, then Barca, and you'll be absolutely world class. And we'll always look back and think, I remember that time when Ellie signed Keith Smith. Aye, class. Get him in. Get him in January. But we're linked to a few people in January already, to be fair. And one of them is James Trafford. Once again, it is James Trafford. And Ellie said of Burnley because he may as well have stayed there because he hasn't really played at all for Man City. No, he went there and then they signed Donnarumma 2 weeks later. Well, there's loads of reports now saying we are going to reignite our interest in the young keeper ahead of the January window. Trafford is desperate to leave already here, according to Team Talk, and wants to play to try and get first team football ahead of that World Cup next year. 15 clean sheets, remember, in the Championship last season for Burnley. But went to Man City. I mean, to be fair, he didn't have much choice in the matter. They activated it. They had that buyback clause on him. And then they went and got Donnarumma because he became available. So I bet he was, I would say regretting that. He was probably having a nice little time there at Man City. And yet he had training campus and picking up his wages. But at the end of the day, he needs to be playing football at his age. And he could be missing out on World Cups at this point. So he's likely to move in January. Let us know what you think. Should we be back in for Trafford in the winter window? Or is it the case of giving Ramsey the chance now? But then again, it seems like Nick Pope is undroppable. On goalkeepers, by the way, Loris Karius is absolutely having a blinder in Schalke. Just a quick one on him. That's a bit mad. He's doing really well there. They've got the best defensive record in the Bundesliga, and he's been key to that. So, Loris Karius, there's a name I never thought I'd mention again. Voldemort and Chow last night doing really well for Germany. Voldemort scored a brace, showing why Newcastle need to start playing to his advantages. We always say, he gets too deep, he's not in the right position. But, he got good service last night from the wingers in the midfield, and he's scoring goals. So, please sort that out, ahead of the Man City game next week. Another player linked today is James Garner, according to Lee Ryder at the Chronicle. Centre midfield is not thought to be a priority for Howe unless a senior player leaves, though. Everton value him at 20 million, over 20 million. I mean, that doesn't excite me at all. James Garner. Can't see that, to be honest with you. Would be disappointing in that signing. It's not one that's going to really improve us massively. He's a canny player, but he's not special for me. So, yeah, don't want to really talk about him much longer, to be honest. On midfield, though, Ramon has put out that Sandro Tonali has left the Italy camp with an injury. He's not 100% fit. Newcastle have been informed, and Tonali's returning earlier to Tyneside. So, let's hope he's alright for next weekend's game against Man City, or even more so importantly, the run-up to that derby, Marseille next week, Everton, those sort of games, because to be honest, against Man City, I don't think it'll matter if Tonali's there or not. Even though we're at home, the form Man City are in could be a scary one. Another link here from players leaving Newcastle. Kraft, once again, we talked about him on the podcast the other week. He's linked to a move away again in January, and so is Fabian Shaw. Fabian Shaw linked away too, but I couldn't see us letting Shaw go. We want that strength and depth, unless a good offer came in, which I probably wouldn't because he's in his 30s. And then Kraft as well. I just think he's actually on pretty big wages. Was it 60 grand a week? What you get for him, pretty pointless as well. Contract runs out next summer. It would depend on the players, really. I think if they want to really push for the move, they might be allowed. But I think Eddie Howe would want to keep them in his squad, especially if we're still in the Champions League and progressing in the Carabao and FA Cup. Okay then, everyone, it's Saturday night. I'm sure you don't want to listen to me waffle anymore. If you watch on Sunday, Monday, whatever, nice one. Please do subscribe, hit like button on the channel, leave your thoughts below. I'm off to watch the boxing now. Looking forward to this one. Going to back Ben to win it. Conor Ben to win it? Wait and see. Cheers, everyone. See you in a bit. Ta-ra.